He said, "Let the one without sin cast the first stone." When they heard it, the religious leaders went away, one by one, beginning with the elders. Jesus stood up and said to her, "Woman, where are they? Has no one condemned you?" She said, "No one, sir." And Jesus said, "Neither do I condemn you."
So, they dragged you just right out of bed.
I barely had time to grab a cloak off the floor.
It had to be humiliating for you. Why you, though? That's what I can't understand.
Why me? I've asked myself that question over and over again.
Do you ever feel like it's something that maybe you brought on yourself?
Something that I did. I mean, we're all responsible for our own choices, right? And I guess I could have trusted that he would take care of me. I got really angry. And I hated him.
I understand that feeling. It's like a fire in your brain that you can't put out.
I was determined to show God that I didn't need him. I chased everything that I could. Everything. Money, love. I married 3 times. I was young with the first one. Then, another one, and then that third one. When he got angry,
Hey, I didn't mean to upset you. I'm sorry. We don't even have to continue.
No, you need to know. Shouldn't you be writing this down?
Yes, sorry. I just got caught up listening to you. Please continue.
So what are you doing all this for?
Well, I don't know a lot of you who knew him personally, so I want to hear everybody's stories. And basically, I want to know, how did you meet Jesus?
Well, he was in town, and the religious leaders were looking to trick Jesus. They actually had a plan to use me as bait. They were going to humiliate him. I mean, they knew whose house I would be at, what I'd be doing. They wanted to trick Jesus, who knew the Old Testament law better than anyone, into having to stone me in front of everyone.
Stone you?
Yeah.
They're the ones who are supposed to represent the mercy of God to the people?
Yes, thank you. But it didn't go at all like they planned. He turned the tables, humiliated them instead. Actually called them out on their hypocrisy and scheming. And as they retreated like dogs, that man looked at me like no one has ever looked at me before, with love. He said that he didn't condemn me, that there was no judgment. There was only love and grace.
So that's what he means to you?
Well, yeah, but it's so much more than that. In place of anger, he gave me peace. In place of shame, forgiveness. In place of my own failures, he showed me mercy. Listen, I don't know. I don't know why he loves me after everything that I've done. But I know one thing, and it's that before I met Jesus, I was dead. But after, I was made alive.
Jesus looked up and said, "Father, I thank you for having heard me." When he had said this, he cried with a loud voice, "Lazarus, come out." The dead man came out, his hands and feet bound with strips of cloth, and his face wrapped in a cloth. Jesus said to them, "Unbind him and let him go."
So you know what's the weirdest part to me?
What?
You were already dead. You weren't on earth anymore. You were here for what? 3 days?
4 days.
4 days. Wow. See, I've met a few others like you, but they were here for, just a moment. And then right back to being alive again. What was it like to be here and then have to go back?
Well, time doesn't work here like it does there. But I knew if I had to go back, it was for a good reason. The next thing I know, I'm opening my eyes and I'm struggling to get these grave clothes off of me. But fortunately, half a dozen of my uncles and cousins were there. They were still there to get me out. So I walked up to Jesus, and the first thing I noticed was his eyes. They were red and swollen like he'd been weeping.
Wow. So then you two were obviously close.
Very. He stayed at our place anytime he passed through. We loved each other like family. I mean, I never had a brother, so he was about as close as one could get.
So then I take it that news hit him really hard for you to die so unexpectedly.
Well, see, that's the thing. I found out later he knew I was sick.
I'm sorry, he knew?
Yeah, he told me the whole story later on. And well, someone had sent word for him, but he decided to stay a couple more days across the Jordan. He never even got there until I was dead for...
Let me guess, 4 days.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, that doesn't make sense. Why would he let you suffer and die? Someone who he loved like a brother, according to you. We're talking about the same man, the same Jesus that cast out demons, that made the blind see, the deaf hear, the man that walked on water.
I don't pretend to know why God does things the way he does.
But why you? Why one of his best friends?
Look, what is it you really want to know?
Okay, so here's what I can't make sense of in my head. Since I've been here, I've talked to dozens of people, now good people, people who loved and trusted Jesus. And yet, they all suffered. I'm talking some were imprisoned, others were impoverished, others died painful deaths. So what I want to know is, why does it seem evil still has the upper hand in the face of good?
It doesn't. It just seems that way to people who live life from their own perspective, as if they were the center of it. We're far from the center of anything. Like I said, we can't begin to understand God's plan. I couldn't comprehend why first I had to die, when healing was just a day's walk away, and then why I had to go from here back to there again. I could only trust that something greater was at work, and it was. My death and resurrection were used to point people to a God who can resurrect a broken soul and reunite it with him. I guess what I mean by all that is, God doesn't need our understanding, only our faith.
Okay, only our faith.
Everything else is up to him. We couldn't even fix it even if we wanted to. It has to be him. He is the one who restores.
As they were leading Jesus away to be tried, one of the bystanders came up and said to Peter, "Certainly you are one of this man's followers." And Peter began to curse, swearing, "I do not know the man." And the cock crowed, and he remembered Jesus had prophesied that he would deny him 3 times. And Peter ran away and wept bitterly. And much later, after Jesus had been raised, Jesus said to Peter, "Simon, son of John, do you love me?" Peter felt hurt because he said to him 3 times, "Do you love me?"
That gutted me more than anything he had ever said.
Why do you think that is?
Well, I knew that he knew how weak I had been. And after all he had done for me, I was all talk. In my mind, I was sitting at the right hand of God. I was going to be there by his side as he overthrew the Romans and led us to victory. But it was all in my head. That I couldn't even own up to a little servant girl that was tending the fire.
I don't completely blame you, though. I saw the full force of Rome's imperial police state just like you did, and they don't play games.
Yep, but you didn't see Jesus like I did. A lot of people didn't. See, I saw him calm the seas. I saw him transfigure into a white beaming light like you're looking into the throne room of God. I knew in my heart who he was, but I still ran.
And yet, here you are.
Here I am in the promised land, the promised paradise. See, when I was faithless, he was faithful. He never denies his own, and he will always be there for you. See, I didn't just have to have God's grace when he called me out of my brother's boat that day. You have to have it every day.
Second chances weren't just for the broken and lost. They're for followers too.
That's pretty good. Where did you get that?
Well, kind of put it together based on some other people I've talked to, people who really knew him.
So you didn't know him?
Well, no, not personally, just by reputation.
But you heard about him in synagogue.
No. Sabbath was more of a family thing. I stopped going to synagogue when I was about 13. And since my parents didn't make me, I never went again. I just didn't have any use for it.
But you were a follower of John the Baptist then?
No,
Right.
I don't know who that is. Sorry.
It's one of Jesus' family members. He was,
Oh, I never met his family.
Nope.
No. I actually wasn't, I was never even religious.
You never.
No, never. Like I said, after my mitzvah, I quit synagogue, quit going, and it's about then I started hanging out with more shady people, kind of deeper and deeper into the underworld. I actually wind up one night taking a sword to a Roman soldier and making off with 3 bags of tax money. They caught me, obviously, and threw me in prison and ordered my execution. And as I was rotting away, I started begging for a second chance.
Did your second chance ever come? Did you ever?
No, not in the way I expected. They chained me up next to a young man who was with Jesus the night it all went down in the garden. So he starts telling me about all the miracles he saw Jesus do. But before he can finish, the Roman garrison throws open the cell door and they drag me out, beat me, and then march me away to my death.
So what happened in the cell? Did you pray?
Mm-mm.
Did you do anything?
No. I wasn't in there long enough. I wouldn't have even known what to pray for anyways.
So you're telling me that you were a thief. You were convicted of manslaughter. You were sentenced to death. You barely ever went to synagogue. You never prayed. You never worshiped. You never saw Jesus perform any type of miracle at all, but yet you're here. How is that?
I wish I had a better answer. But what I can tell you is that when I was hanging on that cross next to him, he looked me in the eyes and he told me I could join him here.